Hi, I'm Cheryl and welcome to the Sewing Room channel. I'm going to demonstrate how to make some really easy beginner's project using a Serger sewing machine. So I'm going to show you how to make this easy baby burp cloth. It's made out of flannel, and then also this baby blanket makes a great little shower gift, and then this little personal tissue holder, and then this little headband. These are really quick little projects, so let's get started. If you just purchased your Serger and you have not used it yet, I recommend that you look through your user's manual. Now, mine is a baby lock, and in my packet of manuals, you get a quick reference guide, which I keep at my machine at all times. Also, if you bought your Serger at a dealer store, check to find out if they offer a free class on how to use it. And in there, they'll show you how to thread your machine for different types of stitching. Another thing that I recommend is you keep small pieces of scrap fabric near your Serger that you can use to test out your stitches. It's important to do that. Always test it out first before you begin stitching on your project. In this tutorial, I'm not going to go over threading the machine because it all depends on the type of machine that you have. Some Sergers are manually threaded. In other words, you kind of follow the numbers. And on other machines, it's an air thread system. I have an air thread system, so it's self-threading and it's really easy. But if you have an entry-level Serger, you probably have just a standard threading system. The first project I'm going to show you is a headband, very, very basic headband. Now my fabric is a two-way stretch, so it just stretches this way, left and right. It doesn't stretch up and down, but you can still use a four-way stretch. So you're going to cut two strips of fabric that are 5 inches wide by 20 inches long. Make sure the longest edge is where your two-way stretch is. That's real important. Then fold it in half, bring your edges together on this side, and then take it and then place it in your machine and serge along this edge. When you fold your fabric, and if it's a print, make sure you have the pretty sides of the fabric folded together. Mine looks the same on both sides, so it doesn't really matter. So I have it folded in half, and I'm going to just let it hang over the edge just a little bit here, because I don't mind if just a little bit of the fabric is cut off. I've got my presser foot lifted, and I'm going to push the fabric till it stops, and then lower the presser foot. In the beginning, you might have to hold on to your chain of thread that's hanging out in the back, and I'm just going to hold on to it, and as I begin to stitch, I'm just going to gently pull on it. And what you want to do is keep lining up your fabric as you go along, because it's a knit, and it is a little more difficult to keep lined up because it is slippery, and you're going to go all the way down. As you get near the end, you want to kind of hold on to the back end just a little bit and continue finishing it off, and then just pull it through. And I like to just wrap it around to the front across like this and let it cut the thread. On my machine, I also have a thread cutter on the side, so that's an option to use either the one on your side or bring it around to the front. After you're done serging the edges, you'll notice you have these little tails of thread right there. For this particular project, you don't need to worry about these little tails, so I'm just going to go ahead and cut them off at both ends. Now you want to take both tubes and turn it front side out. So you just do it like this, and you pull it through, so you feed this, grab onto it, and pull it out through the middle. After you've turned them front side out, have the seam going down the middle, like this that you see here. Now pick up one of them and cross it like that. Then take these two ends and bring them together, and then take these two ends and bring them together, and it should look like this. Then you're going to fold the ends over and then line them up, and you're going to serge this end. So press it, push it underneath your presser foot. You might have to kind of manually lift it a little bit more. And you want it hanging over the edge here because you want to trim this all off as it's being serged. And then lower your presser foot. And again, if you need to, hold on to this thread in the back and begin stitching it all together. And because it's so thick, you may have to kind of work with it just a little bit and continue to pull on these threads. Now I'm going to demonstrate how to hide these threads, and it's really a simple process. There's two different ways you could do this. You could use a really small crochet hook. And starting over here, you would insert the crochet hook underneath your threads here. And then wrap the tail of your thread around the crochet hook and then pull it out. Because I have a one-handed issue, my right hand doesn't close, so it's hard for me to hold onto that thread. So I can't demonstrate that one for you. But I'm going to show you another method for those of you who do have a problem with your hand. This is a large darning needle. This was made by Singer. It comes in a little kit of needles. It has a really large eye on it. So you put the ends of the thread through the eye of the needle, insert the needle under the threads, and then pull the threads through. See how easy that is? And then you would just cut this end off. And that's how you hide the ends of your threads. So you would just turn it to where the seam is hidden on the back of your head, so it's facing in towards your head, and there you have a really easy, quick headband. I'm now going to demonstrate how to make a tissue holder. So whatever fabric you want to show on the outside, cut 1 6-inch square. For the lining, and this also is going to act as a little bit of a border on the front side, you want to cut it 6 by 7. So you want to have both pieces of fabric front sides together like this, and you're going to line up 2 of the ends this way and then serge this edge together. Now again, lift your presser foot up and push your fabric up to where it touches that cutter, and you want just a slight amount of fabric hanging over the edge. Lower your presser foot and go ahead and serge that side. Now, take these 2 ends, bring it together, and repeat the step. Serge this end. Then at your ironing board, press the seam flat, and then do the same thing on this side here. Then turn it front side out, and with your fabric that you want on the outside, center it in the middle, and then press both edges. So now it should look like this. Fold it in half, like that, because we want to find the center and make sure your fabric is smoothed on the inside. Then you're going to mark the center, and I'm going to cut a tiny piece of fabric at both ends off to mark the center. Just a tiny little piece. Okay, whoops. There we go. So now open it up. Take each edge and line it right up against those little cuts that you put in there. And then take the other side and do the same thing. So you want them lined up, and then you're going to serge both ends. I've placed a pin on each side. When pinning it, you want to make sure that the end of your pin does not come near the edge there. Otherwise, you will damage your cutter. So you want to keep that pin far enough back. I also recommend that you overlap the two sides slightly, because the serger has a tendency to push one side away as you're feeding it under. So again, lift up your presser foot, slide it up against that cutter, and it's just slightly hanging over the edge. And now I'm going to serge up to where my pins are at, and I'm just going to serge it a little bit there. And I'm going to remove this one pin, and I'm going to take like my little seam ripper, and I'm going to just put it underneath to kind of push this one side in, because this is the side that has a tendency to be pushed away. So I'm just going to keep it in there, pushing against it, and then continue serging. And do the same thing on the other side. After serging both edges, go ahead and hide the ends of your thread in the seam, and then turn it front side out. And once you get it turned front side out, just poke those corners out as best you can. After you get it turned front side out, then insert your tissue pack. I find it easier to put the tissue pack in if you leave the little plastic that's wrapped around it, and then you can undo the center of the plastic, as it usually has perforated edges. And so therefore it's just really easy to get it in and out. This next project is a baby burp cloth, and I'm using flannel fabric. So you want to cut two pieces that are 8 inches wide by 21 inches long. And again, line up your edges. Because this seam is going to be exposed on the front of the fabric, because this is the front side of both fabrics. So you're putting the back of your fabrics together, the not so pretty side. So your stitches are going to show. So I'm going to shorten the length of my stitches to number 1, so that the stitches are really close together, and it gives a better finished edge when it's going to be exposed on the outside. Before stitching, I don't want to have a squared corner. You can leave it squared, but I prefer it's rounded. It has a little bit more finished and professional look. So you could take anything round and trace around it, and then cut those edges off. Now I'm just going to kind of insert it in at an angle just a little bit, because we're kind of starting in the middle. There's really no end to this seam. So here we go. I've lowered my presser foot, and now you're just going to start serging. Remember to set your stitch length to 1 so that you have a nice tighter stitch. And you want just a little bit being cut off on the edge. Another thing that I've done on this, because it's going to be exposed, is I have bright pink thread. So it's contrasting, and it just gives a more finished look. It looks intended to be that way. So continue going down the side. So now I'm approaching my first curved corner. On this, you want to go a little bit slower. You want to do just a little bit at a time, and you might have to lift your presser foot up occasionally to get around that corner. So as I approach it, I'm going to just start turning it a little bit. I'm going to lift up my presser foot slightly and then shift the fabric. And just keep going. And you just keep doing it a little bit. Lift it up, let your fabric relax. Lift it up, let your fabric relax. And you want to just keep doing that as you go around your corners. Now I'm almost back around to where I started. So as I approach this, I'm going to go right over some of the area that's been previously stitched. So just keep going around. Pull it off to the side, and then cut it off. Okay, now this one was really quick to do, hardly took any time at all. Don't forget to hide the ends of your threads in the seam. Okay, now let's move on to the next project. This next project is just as easy as the previous one because it's made exactly the same way. This is a little baby blanket. Again, I'm using 2 squares of flannel fabric. Cut your squares anywhere from 36 inches to 40 inches. And you want to have the back sides of your fabric together, just like you made the burp cloth. I also recommend you round the corners like I did on this one, and then go ahead, make sure you shorten your stitch length, and then serge around all the edges together. All right, I've got the blanket all done, and what's nice about these 2 things is it makes a really nice baby shower gift if you coordinate everything together. I really like how this turned out. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If you're interested in other beginner sewing projects, making little tote bags, table runners, even some clothing, all kinds of things, check below your YouTube screen for the video links. And make sure you follow me on Instagram and go and check out my Facebook page. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time, and happy sewing. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please click on the thumbs up button. Don't forget to click on share to share this video with your friends. If you haven't subscribed yet, click on that red subscribe button down there in the lower right-hand corner of your screen. Don't forget to click on the bell. I'm Cheryl, and this is a lot of mayonnaise. See you next time, and happy sewing!